Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to Ila Reads.
It had taken a lot of arguing back and forth with the officers in charge on the part of her patch, but after Echo had been there for just over an hour, they were finally allowed to go in to see her one at a time. The interview room Sonata was in was almost identical to the one Echo had been sat in the day before. A part of her couldn't help but feel uncomfortable with that, as though the police were going to turn around and say the pair of them had been wasting police time or something. But Echo didn't allow herself to dwell on that thought for long. Instead, she found her gaze studying her little sister, as though she was trying to figure out who this girl really was. In the greyness of the room, Sonata looked washed out. She sat on her chair with her knees raised to her chest and her arms loosely wrapped around them, as her right hand played with the tatty old friendship bracelet on her left wrist. For a moment, Echo's attention narrowed in on the bracelet. It was obvious from the thinning on it, in places, that it had been tied and retied as Sonata had grown. Some of the colours were faded, whilst others had taken on a grubbier, muddier appearance, confirming what Echo already knew about it. This friendship bracelet had been Sonata's for a long time. She didn't know who had given it to her sister, or quite when, but every time she did see it, it was only because Sonata was playing with it like she was right now. And every time she had seen it, it filled Echo with the hope that somewhere within Alonso's Sonata still lived their sunshine. Telekinetically, Echo moved the chairs away from the side of the table opposite her sister, and moved her own chair into their place. As she did, her sister pulled down her sleeve over the bracelet, and she went from staring off into the distance with a deep look of concern on her face, to a hardened expression, ready for some kind of battle to take place. I know it wasn't you. Echo cut her off before she could say anything. The shock on Sonata's face couldn't have been more obvious if she'd painted it on. It was clear she hadn't expected Echo to believe in her, and she didn't know what to do with the information that she did. Still, it just gave Echo the opportunity to say what she needed to now, before her sister regained her voice and said something stupid. I know we have our differences, Sonny, but I don't believe you would want to see any real harm come to me. Besides, we both know your telekinetic powers are no match for mine, so whatever it is they have on you has to be faked somehow. I just want to know if you know anybody you think might have done it. Oh, so this has to be about me, does it? Sonata instantly became defensive. Because you're so perfect, everybody just loves you, whereas I just piss everybody off just by looking at them. Is that what you think? No, that's not what I think. She tried to remain calm. I've been trying to think of anyone I know who might want to do this to me too. I've also been thinking maybe it doesn't have anything to do with either of us specifically, but with our family tied to the great Alonso. He racked up enemies like it was going out of style, and this wouldn't be the first time someone targeted his family, our family, because of it. Okay, maybe it would be the first time since his death, but I'm just trying to come up with some kind of reasonable explanation here, Sonny. So why don't you drop the defensive and help? Sorry. She remained tense and averted her gaze. So is there anyone you know capable of doing something like this? She hesitated. I have my suspicions, both for who and why, but I have no proof they are behind it, or any explanation for how they were able to frame me. Can you tell me who it is? Echo shot her sister an imploring look. You won't believe me. You don't know that. I do, because in order for you to believe me, I would have to tell you why I think it is who I think it is. And I can't. Please. Please don't make me. Does this... Now it was Echo's turn to hesitate. Does this have something to do with someone you or Alonso might have hurt in the past? Those words made Sonata flinch and squirm uncomfortably. For a few moments she was silent, then her gaze half shifted back towards Echo. I never liked doing any of that stuff, you know. Her voice was as tense as her expression. He made me do it. Told me the only way to get ahead in life was to push everyone else out of the way. But I never stopped feeling bad about it. Then when he died, I thought, okay, maybe this is my chance to turn things around. It shouldn't have to be lonely at the top. But it's not that easy to change when everyone around you expects you to behave like a bitch. And maybe I still act like one. I don't know. I just know, even if I'm trying to do the right thing, people only ever see the bad in me. That's not true, Sonny. Echo reached a hand out towards her. But maybe after we've finished with the next heartbeat, you should take a break from this acting gig for a while. You're still a kid. I'm 17. Exactly. Still a kid. She shot her a sympathetic smile. You could go to college or university or go travelling or whatever. Put yourself into a new situation. Make friends with people who have no idea who you are. Well, that's not exactly easy, is it? Everyone knows who I am. I'm Sonata's sweet charm. I'm world famous. Then cut and dye your hair. Go back to calling yourself Sunshine. Maybe people will still recognise you. Maybe they won't. But at least give yourself the excuse not to be Sonata for a while. I'm not sure you like being Sonata much. Sonata looked as though she was going to say something in protest. Then she shut her mouth, averted her gaze, and pulled her knees closer in against her chest. A pouty, sulky kind of look developed across her face, as though she knew Echo was right, but was never going to admit it. In a strange kind of way, Echo found herself enjoying this moment, not for the situation they were in, but for how close she suddenly felt to her sister. She always assumed Sonata had blindly devoted herself to her grandpatch, to find out there were things about him she didn't like. Grandpatch... Sonata's voice was small, as if she wasn't sure if she wanted Echo to hear her or not. I know how he treated you. I know I didn't like all the things he taught me. But I know, that time he was just trying to protect me. That time, she trailed off. That time was as far as Echo managed to get through her sentence before the door behind her opened and a plump officer poked his head around the door. Time's up. His voice was as curt as it was stern. Can't you give us a few more minutes? What is it with you sweet charms and trying to bend the rules? His eyes glinted with more than a note of displeasure. Look, lady, like I told your parents, you were told just how long you would get going in. It's not my problem if it's not long enough. Now say your goodbyes and get out already. Echo made a sigh of protest before glancing back towards her sister. Don't worry, we'll get you out of here as soon as possible, okay? Sure, whatever. She shrugged stiffly, like a child trying to act brave before going to bed in the dark. See you soon, Sonny. She did her best to shoot her a reassuring smile. Later, Echo. With that, Echo wheeled herself back out of the room. As the door shut behind her, her gaze went instantly up towards the officer who'd rushed her out. He was tall for a water fairy, with similar impish traits to Jet, which made her wonder for a moment if the two of them might have been related. Even with the pixie-like coarseness of the hair, they shared enough in common to at least be second cousins or something. So are you going to tell me exactly what she's been charged with here? Arson and attempted murder. The officer appeared to relish the words. Oh, is that how it is it? Echo felt every inch of disgust possible as she found herself glaring at him. Do you enjoy revelling in the downfall of a celebrity? I do when they're a sweet charm. He folded his arms across his broad chest, as if posing some kind of challenge to her. That Alonso was a right piece of work, and from what I hear, his little prodigy isn't much better. It's about time he had some real evidence to take one of them down. Disliking someone based on rumours, these are more than just rumours, he cut her off. Although rumours are what she specialises in, rumours which can ruin a person's career, their reputation, their life. That little girl is getting what's coming to her. I'm going to make sure of that. His words left Echo feeling more than a little speechless, which just made him laugh. Pulling her expression into a more seriously resolved one, she pushed herself forward and away from the police officer with a clear agenda. Everything in her hoped he wasn't working her sister's case, or if he was, he didn't have an important part to play in it. Because anybody out to get her sister could not be trusted, and she had to believe he was a one-off amongst a force, because if he was the rule... She shuddered at the thought of a police conspiracy. Are you okay, sweetbat? Her patchless gaze lifted towards her as she emerged into the police foyer. Yeah, I'm fine. She forced a smile. I just hate the thought of leaving her in there. Me too, he sighed. But as soon as they let us know about bail, we'll have her out of here and back home with us. Good. Echo nodded stiffly. But I think I'm going to go clear my head for a while. It feels as though it's been a long week and it's just about to get longer. Do you want any company? No. You stay here with Murmur. Try to get in to see Sunny again. I'll be okay. I might head towards Lilith or something. I'll probably be back later, so... See you soon. Despite what she had said, Echo somehow found herself in the public library. Something deep within her gut told her some of the answers she needed were probably within the walls of this place. For a few long minutes, she found herself moving aimlessly amongst the rows, her eyes scanning along as many books as possible, but manoeuvring around in her chair wasn't exactly the easiest thing to do. So she forced herself to become a little more focused and moved towards one of the reference computers. For a long time she just stared at it, trying to decide what to look for. Then she took a deep breath in and typed in a single word. Mano. A whole list of books popped up on screen, catching her by surprise more than a little. Just because the word Mano had been somewhat familiar to her didn't mean she'd honestly expected to find anything on them. She thought there might have been one, maybe two books at most, but from the looks of the reference numbers, there was a whole section. Taking a piece of paper and pen from beside the computer, Echo scribbled down the reference section number and set out towards the nearest wall layout chart to try and figure out where it might be. From the way it looked, it was on the same floor she was on, near the back. When she reached the right area, she found herself faced with a grey wall of moving shelves. The turning handle for the shelf was just above her reach, so the only thing for her to do was to use her telekinesis to open it. The handle had just made its first few squeaks of movement when an urban fairy with greying-brown hair and a faded pair of brown, butterfly-like wings poked her head out of an open section a few rows down. "You can't use telekinesis to open these rows." Her voice was pitched but stern. "You could unintentionally damage the mechanisms." Sorry, I didn't know," Echo squirmed. "It's just that I can't reach, and I really don't want to bother anybody, and this is what we're here for, you know." The librarian moved out of her row towards the one Echo was in front of. "Or did you think we only get paid to check out books and put them away again? Most people just assume we have no other function than that we don't know anything about this great library we work in." As she spoke, she turned the handle and opened the row. "Or that we don't really want to be bothered helping out members of the public. But the truth is we want to be able to pass on our vast knowledge and help those on their own quest of enlightenment, in whatever form that might take. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you. You didn't insult me any more than anyone else ever does." Her tone had reached the point of being more than a little condescending now. "Just remember we're here to help in the future. Now, which books did you need?" I wanted to select them myself." Echo gave a nervous cough. "Nonsense, child. Your chair won't fit down this gap," she indicated, "and these shelves won't open any further. So tell me what you're after and I will fetch it for you." "Well, I don't really remember any of the titles exactly. This appeared to be the section to go to for books on the Mano, and I figured I would pick out the books I felt might be useful once I was here." "Let me guess. You're a social history student." She narrowed her gaze. Echo wasn't quite sure how to answer that question. Why would you think that?" "Because you're so disorganized," she half rolled her eyes. "Plus you wouldn't be the first to come in here looking for information on the Mano. After all, you can't cover the full social history of the enchanted breeds without acknowledging the role the Mano had to play, regardless of whether or not you believe they really existed." Do you? Do I what?" "Do you believe the Mano really existed?" Echo did her best to try and gauge the librarian. "Do you?" She turned the question back on Echo without answering it herself. I think so. In fact, I'm pretty certain I do. And I think, no, I'm sure they still exist." For a few long moments, the librarian just stared at her. Then she grabbed a few books down from the shelves and placed them on Echo's lap. "There's a room just down there," she pointed. "I want you to go into it and wait for me. I think you and I need to talk." "Okay." Echo didn't quite know how to feel, but something told her it was best to do as she'd been instructed. Once in the room, Echo placed the books on her lap onto the table in the centre and waited. Something told her this space didn't get used very often, although she wasn't quite sure why. Looking around, it felt like a nice, comfortable little study space, the kind any dedicated student would appreciate for a little quiet research. "You're not a social history student, are you?" The words were out of the librarian's mouth before she'd even fully entered the room. "How?" "Because most social history students I've met believe the Mano are nothing more than a myth, and those who don't believe they went extinct a long time ago. So, tell me, are you a balancer?" No, I'm not." "Then tell me, why do you believe the Mano still exist?" "Well, because, you've met one, haven't you?" She took her glasses off in order to clean them. Why do you think that?" "Because it's currently written all over your face." She replaced her glasses and narrowed her gaze. "I've never met one myself. When the Balance Council agreed to start taking on balancers from our world, they decided it would be a good idea to break their contact with the Mano, because they didn't want the Mano to be forced into rejoining us before they were ready. However, as a balancer, I was allowed access to their research records with the hopes that my own books would be a natural stepping stone towards the reintegration of their kind." "You're a balancer?" Echo blinked at her. "I was in my prime. I retired about 10 years ago after an accident left me unable to fly. I did consider conversion therapy to repair the damage, but, well, I was already beginning to feel my age. I want to spend more time with my family, and I was ready to leave that life behind. Remaining injured felt like the perfect excuse. I see. Yes, you do, don't you? She nodded knowingly. So tell me, when did you meet this Maino of yours? Echo hesitated for a moment. Well, I guess I first met him when I was 15, or that was when I first got a glimpse of him. In actuality, I only met him properly for the first time a few days ago. I know he's been watching me for years, though. He told me that much himself. But, well, a lot of things have happened recently, and I want to know... I guess I'm worried he might be behind it. You don't trust him? I don't know him. And yes, I know he always seems to be there when I need him to save me at the moment. But I'm worried he's the one putting me in danger to begin with. I just want to rule him either in or out. Okay, I think I understand. But I'm going to need more information to work with if I'm going to be any use to you here. She folded her arms seriously across her chest. So how about you start this from the very beginning, and we'll go from there.
Enjoyed what you've heard so far? Please consider subscribing to find out when the next part's being released. Thanks for watching. See ya!